What if I told you that the most powerful crime boss in American history wasn't an Italian mobster with a fedora and a cigar? What if the man who made the mafia negotiate on his terms was a black man from the streets of Harlem? A man so feared that even Lucky Luciano played chess with him in public, not because he wanted to, but because he had to. His name was Ellsworth Raymond Johnson, but the world called him Bumpy. And the truth behind his reign is darker, stranger, and more shocking than Hollywood ever dared to show you. Bumpy Johnson wasn't born a king. He was born in 1905 in Charleston, South Carolina, a scrawny kid with a bump on the back of his skull that gave him his legendary nickname. By age 10, his brother was accused of killing a white man, and his family lived in terror of a lynch mob. So his parents shipped him off to Harlem, hoping the big city would save him. It didn't. Instead, Harlem turned a bullied short kid with a thick Southern accent into a fighter who refused to back down from anyone. By 15, he was breaking into buildings. By 16, he was running armed robberies. By 17, he was locked up in a reformatory. The streets didn't just raise Bumpy Johnson, they forged him into a weapon. Here's where the story takes a turn nobody sees coming. In 1932, fresh out of Sing Sing prison, Bumpy met a woman named Stephanie St. Clair, the numbers queen of Harlem. She ran an illegal lottery empire pulling in $50 million a year. And a white mobster named Dutch Schultz wanted every penny of it. He gave Harlem's numbers bosses a simple choice. Work for me for $200 a week or lose everything. Everyone folded. Everyone except Stephanie St. Clair. And she had a secret weapon, Bumpy Johnson. What followed was a 3-year bloodbath. Over 40 people were kidnapped or killed. Bumpy's men blended into Harlem's streets, making it impossible for Schultz's white enforcers to identify them. And then, in 1935, Schultz was gunned down in a Newark restaurant on orders from Lucky Luciano himself. The war was over, and Bumpy? He sat down with Luciano and cut a deal that would change history. This was the moment Bumpy Johnson became something the underworld had never seen before, a black man who forced the Italian Mafia to treat him as an equal. The deal was simple. Harlem's numbers bosses kept their independence but kicked a cut upstairs to the mob. And for the first time ever, a black man had stood up to the white criminal empire and didn't bow down. After that, Bumpy and Luciano played chess together outside the YMCA on 135th Street. Let that sink in. The most powerful Italian mob boss in New York was sitting on a sidewalk, matching wits with a black man from South Carolina. Bumpy once told his goddaughter, "If you master the game of chess, you master the game of life." He wasn't just playing pieces on a board, he was playing the entire city. But here's the part Hollywood completely invented. You've seen American Gangster, right? Denzel Washington as Frank Lucas, claiming he was Bumpy's right-hand man for over a decade. Bumpy's own wife, Mame, called that a lie. She said Lucas was not Bumpy's driver. He was not there when Bumpy died. They actually had a falling out before Bumpy went to prison. The real Bumpy Johnson was nothing like the Hollywood version. He was a man who delivered Thanksgiving turkeys to poor families, hosted Christmas parties for kids in Harlem, and put neighborhood children through college. He had love affairs with Vanity Fair editors and the legendary Lena Horne. He wrote poetry. He wore custom-made suits from elite haberdashers. Frank Lucas himself said he wasn't a typical gangster. He was refined and classy, more like a businessman than anyone in the underworld. And yet, make no mistake, Bumpy Johnson was terrifying. A rival named Ulysses Rollins caught Bumpy's switchblade 36 times in a single fight. In another confrontation at a dinner club, Bumpy slashed Rollins so badly that his eyeball dangled from its socket. Bumpy calmly stepped over the bleeding man, picked up a menu, and said he suddenly had a craving for spaghetti and meatballs. An assistant U.S. attorney once described him as the most vicious and dangerous criminal in Harlem. This was a man who could buy you a Thanksgiving dinner one night and gut you the next. In 1951, Bumpy was sentenced to 15 years for heroin conspiracy and sent to Alcatraz, the most notorious prison in America. And here's a mystery that still haunts true crime today. In 1962, 3 men pulled off the only successful escape from Alcatraz in history. Reports allege that Bumpy Johnson used his mob connections to arrange a boat for the escapees. His own wife believed he could have escaped too, but chose not to, because he wanted to walk out a free man, not a fugitive. When he finally returned to Harlem in 1963, the entire neighborhood threw him an impromptu parade. Thousands lined the streets to welcome home their king. Bumpy Johnson died on July 7, 1968, in the early hours of the morning at Wells Restaurant in Harlem. He was eating fried chicken and eggs when a heart attack took him at 62 years old. Cholesterol killed what dozens of gunmen couldn't. His wife said it was the death any Harlem man would pray for. Surrounded by friends, eating soul food in the wee hours.